Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Let's Tech About It. I'm your host, Aman, joined by Ayush, who is apparently on his work from anywhere mode. He has this lovely tropical background, is it? And he's also in this very nice holiday shirt and his glasses on, really fulfilling his geek look. You guys who have been tuning in to all our episodes, you know that this is a podcast about all things tech, made by us two geeks for other geeks out there and tech enthusiasts. And today we're going to do something special. So Ayush and I decided that we'll run a little poll on Instagram, one of those really cool features that Instagram has, and get a little bit of an opinion of what people think about this new social media platform that's out there. And I'm sure some of you guys may have heard what it is called, and I'm sure that some of you guys haven't, because from the results of that poll, it doesn't look like a lot of people know what it is. So we're going to take this opportunity to maybe talk a little bit about this new platform, new revelation. Can it be the next big thing? Clubhouse. So Ayush, I'll let you give a little bit of an introduction to all our lovely listeners and viewers to what the hell is going on. What is this damn thing?
That's a good question, Aman. What the hell is going on? Because ever since the world went into this lockdown mode and all of us started working from anywhere, as you can clearly see, guys, I am taking full and making full use of this work from anywhere mode, because I've realized as long as you got a good Wi-Fi connection, you can do this podcast, you can do your shoots. Physical meetings, you can push them to the next week. But otherwise, everything else can happen. You can work out here in your little garden. And you can also now, based on what Clubhouse has done, you can also attend live events. Now, Aman, I know in the architectural world as well, you guys have a lot of these interesting events happening around the world. You have exhibitions. You've put up some great ones. I've worked with you on the multimedia elements of them, and they've been all over LA and New York.
Yeah.
Similarly, over here, in the content world and the media world, and in the tech world, well, we have a lot of events. I think they run on events, massive budgets. Frankly, crores of rupees or millions of dollars goes into one or two events for a new launch. And I'm not talking about Apple launch. I'm talking about even small, tiny fitness trackers and stuff like that. They spend a lot of money. Journalists are, jet setting all over the world because clients are paying for it. But now what happens if you want to have these conversations? Concerts as well. What happens if you want to do a concert? Even Sofa Sounds is sort of flopped now, right? No one wants to get into a tiny room with 100 people with someone jamming anymore. I mean, that vibe is great, but it's not safe anymore. How do you relive that? How do you recreate that? That's where Clubhouse comes in. What is Clubhouse, for those of you all asking? Well, it's an audio-only app. And I'm not going to sound like all those typical Google searches and YouTube videos. The best way to explain this is, if Spotify for podcasts, where this lovely Let's Talk About It podcast is played out, Spotify for podcasts had a baby with a live events conference sort of company,
and then a
webinar company, and then you got the whole world in, but also you made this so exclusive that it's only for the top bunch. What do I mean by that? It's an invite-only app for now. So if you have a Clubhouse account which is activated and valid, then like you want to enter a club, well, just like clubs all over the world, the British imperialism era left a lot of clubs here in the Commonwealth countries, which cost a lot of money to enter. But this is the digital equivalent. You enter this club where there's Elon Musk, where there's Mark Zuckerberg, where there's Oprah Winfrey, and so many creators out there, people who you won't always have access to. Look, many years ago, Twitter did this, where it became so easy for you to engage. What did our parents do? Our parents want to reach out to celebrities and big people. It didn't always happen, right? You write a letter, you write a telegram, or you make a call, a trunk call, or whatever you did. Now things changed. Email worked for some time, but then it didn't become exclusive anymore because everyone was sending out these mass mailers and these stupid newsletters. So then email didn't become exclusive anymore. So what do?
Right.
So then everyone moved to engagement on social media. It wasn't only about voyeurism, social voyeurism that Mark Zuckerberg came up with Facebook, saying, I want to know what Aman's doing in California on his road trip in his new car with his girlfriend. No, I mean, that's just one dopamine rush that you get. And then Instagram fed into it because Instagram's honestly very superficial. So is so is TikTok. I mean, it's no longer here on this side of the world, but well, TikTok for you is Instagram Reels for us, right? In a way,
It
these are
is.
superficial
It's
things where you're doing, I mean, no offense, but you're doing silly things or like fun things and showing off about your life and making people jealous.
right.
What about that truly engaging, enriching networking platform? Now, LinkedIn is trying to do that, going a little more social, but I'm a little worried it's heading the Facebook way. So then your grandparents are going to be on it, and you're gonna say, hey, you know what? If I want to get a job, I'm going to look at other apps. If I want to network, I'm going to look at other apps. Is that app Clubhouse? That's the question I want to answer with you today. Because Clubhouse is audio only. It's only by invite right now, though the invites are increasing. When I joined, it was one invite, two invites, now three. And the last bit is for all of you all tuned in, and we'll discuss this in detail in the next bit, but it is only an iOS app for now.
Yep. That I was gonna make sure you didn't forget that bit out there because I feel like that's important. Unfortunately, it's iOS only. And it's interesting why, I recently read that they just started working on the Android version or of the app or the beta version of it. And it's funny that it's only iOS, I think. Maybe it's not funny, but part of me thinks it's a little funny. And I wanted to ask you, like, do you think they've deliberately done this? Do you think that it's trying to, the makers of the app are trying to get those celebrities or get these influential people to be part of this, and maybe that's why they're trying to be so, restrictive and making it invite only, iOS only, and having all of these limitations? Or do you just think that they are just not prepared for, or they weren't prepared for the little bit of a blow up that it's had?
Let's put the facts in place and then speculate. So if you put the facts in place, Rohan Sheth, I think he has a similar surname to yours, Aman. Maybe you're related, just get me an invite. And then obviously Paul Davison as well. These guys got together, and in the US, they came up with this app late 2019. Now, you didn't know what it was all about. It was so niche. And then we had many lockdown phenomena, so to speak, right? All over the world that got us together. Yeah, Zoom was something really cool. We're using interesting softwares to do this and make a professional quality podcast. And then you had the Dalgona coffees and the funny Indian memes and so many things that sort of sounded silly, but they got us together and they got us by really tough times. Let's be honest about it, right? And then you had House Party, if you remember, right? It sounded a little silly. But then for the first weeks of lockdown, that's how we were adapting or climatizing to this weird scenario where we're entering. Just think of the weird analogies out here, where we'll discuss it later, where you can just enter a room, where you can sneak in on someone, no rules there, just be silly
quietly.
and But it was essentially a fun, silly app house party. Nothing like Clubhouse. But I feel like people started getting used to this medium, this mode of communicating in a way. But obviously, you've got to give them credit because Clubhouse was founded in late 2019. Now, a lot of people out there are very influential people. We've seen MKBHD over there, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk talking about everything under the sun. But doesn't this take things to a whole new level, right? You asked me a very specific question, actually, which was that, is this by design? Good question.
Right, exactly.
Because I honestly would like to say maybe yes. But Paul Davison, the founder, was doing an interview with Emily Chang, at Bloomberg, a company that I worked with, and she does some great tech, and we've had her in on shows sometimes. Interestingly, whenever she asked him a question, he goes on to say, we are creative first. Very passionate guy, very good talker, smooth talker, but very suave about it. But I just feel like, are they genuinely scaling up? Do they really not have the wherewithal? They've had a whole year to work on it. And clearly there's been interest. Elon Musk coming in was the watershed moment for this app. But that said, I feel like I think everything that goes invite only and that exclusivity in the beginning builds all that chatter, builds the publicity. That's exactly what OnePlus did in the tech world. It was an invite-only platform. There are so many examples like this, right?
You know what? Actually, let me interrupt you there, because if I remember correctly, Gmail started off as invite only, and today it's probably the most commonly used mail app on the planet, right?
Gmail is mail. It's email.
Exactly. It's email. I think, you have those popular ones, right? Like when you, I think in India there's one that no one asks for mineral water. People ask for Bisleri because
Or
the
Xerox.
brand, or Xerox, exactly. The
Yeah.
brand took over the actual product, like the name of
Correct.
the brand. So that's what Gmail is, right? To mail. And it started off as invite only. And I remember, I think it was ninth grade or eighth grade or something, when someone ended up getting me an invite, and I was like, damn, this is awesome, like I'm part of this exclusive club. And
Okay.
last week, no, one was it's probably been a couple of weeks now, when you sent me that invite, I'm like, damn, this is like, it's like deja vu almost, where it's like I'm the chosen one. I'm this lucky guy who's gotten an invite, and I'm going to be part of this exclusive club, which it's really interesting, and we'll talk about it more in detail. But like when you open up the app for the first time, it's like it's almost it hits you in the face, right? Because
It's a whole new world.
it's a whole new world, yeah.
And
Exactly.
think about it, Aman. Since medieval times, I mean, since the longest you could go back and trace human history, we had audio or a way of talking to each other.
Right.
Public speaking was a thing. All these things were a big deal. When we joined the media, people used to teach you how to talk to camera. People used to teach you how to talk to a microphone. What does this app do? I feel like the world's been going on about podcasts. Yes, podcasts are amazing. We love doing this.
I mean, we're doing
But
one.
yeah, but what if we took this, and this is an idea, I'm pitching it to you right now, and we took it to Clubhouse and built a community there. The amount of live engagement that we can get, Aman, and you'd be surprised because every day that element of spice, that element of surprise is there because someone joins, raises their hand, and tries to enter your room. That's how the app works, guys. You enter rooms, these exclusive rooms, which could be actually not only exclusive. There are three types of rooms. There are public rooms open to the world. Then there are these rooms which are only open to your connections. And then lastly, it's a private room altogether, right?
Invite
So I
only
think
rooms.
invite only room, right? So those are the three types of rooms here. Once you enter a room, once you enter the app, actually when you finally get that prestigious invite and you sign into the app, then you get an option to select your interests. Once you select your interests, they then connect you and make you follow creators who are in line with your interests. After that, every time you're on it, you will have stuff like weird sci-fi topics. You will have networking events. You'll have speed dating. You'll have people abusing, people rapping, live concerts. The
Everything.
opportunities are endless. But there are some issues that have come to light, Aman, and I was just thinking about it. I spoke to a few of my lawyer friends as well. We'll discuss them, and I want to pitch this to you as well. Think about it. Just think about this throughout the conversation, and anyone tuned in, just think about this. When a
Right.
social network like Facebook came about, we were so fascinated and enamored by it that we just all hogged it up in the mid 2000s, right? Because it was so
Right.
cool. What Orkut couldn't do, what High Five couldn't do, and MSN Messenger and on MySpace.
Whatever those were, yeah.
Facebook was doing that, and Facebook was connecting the world. Then Facebook got boring, and we moved to Instagram, Twitter, stuff like that. Now TikTok has come and taken over the world. Snapchat got beaten by Mark Zuckerberg entirely. But now if you think about what are the issues that are cropping up with these? Even Google as a search engine over the years, and YouTube as the second
Right.
biggest search engine. What are the issues cropping up? Privacy, right? Hate, online abuse.
There-
These are things which, how do we control? So now obviously they
Right.
have a privacy policy, but if you go through it, it's arcane. It's weird and massive for any normal person to understand. So what are the real rules? Now, for now, when it's a smaller app and it's not scaled up so much, it is every day, every minute as we speak, but issues crop up
Right.
with privacy, issues crop up with security, issues crop up with ethics and online guidelines and trolling and abuse. Because if you don't control them and nip this problem in the bud, I was on a couple of rooms where people were becoming too open and candid with their chats. So the use of slang, which it's a global app, right? So someone
Right.
sitting in a rural part of India who has access to 4G, who really wants to be
Right.
geared in, he's a great coder, he wants to be geared into a conversation in Silicon Valley, and he might take offense to some of the things he say there, or even isms, or slightly remarks which don't go well with one particular community. What do I do? How do I flag it? If I do flag it, what action is taken? These are questions we should ask, I think, responsibly as people who
Right.
understand tech and who are interested in tech. And the second issue I want to talk about a little later is monetization. How does it make money? For now, I don't
Right.
understand. But that same interview that the founder was doing last week or a couple of weeks ago, he says it's only about the creator. It's creator first, which is a great philosophy. But there are issues with that. The first issue is if you're talking about monetization for a creator, how are you making money? Right? He said
Yeah.
sponsorships, ticketed events, subscriptions, and tips and donations for creators, so that they can be told they're doing a good job.
Right.
I'm guessing those sponsorships will also become advertisements like we have on YouTube.
Exactly.
Right? Then you'll have a premium version of the app. Then they'll see how they scale. Let's see. Let Android come in. The real barrage of users comes in when Android
Is
comes
when
in.
Android comes in.
There are people
Exactly.
abusing that poll that we conducted on
Right.
Instagram.
It was 3367, even worse than what we were
So there were
speculating.
33 who knew about the app,
And
right?
67 had no idea what it even was. And
And
you're
and
right.
we have a bunch. We have a bunch of fairly young followers, man. People
Yeah.
who are experienced, doing well in the media and the tech world. Clearly, either they don't give a damn, or they don't have the time, or lastly, they don't
Right.
have an iPhone.
Which a lot of it's the case for a lot of people in India and in similar parts of the world. It's just like I still say like in the US it's like almost everyone has an iPhone, which really isn't the case, but it still kind of is the case. Almost everyone has an iPhone, so they know what it is. But you're absolutely right there. Like there's a big part of the world that doesn't even know it exists, and it is going to be interesting, once Android gets in, once they have like a whole nother influx of users, how they're going to deal with things. And I wanted to say something earlier, but because I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and he sort of told me, and he was just talking to me about our podcast, and he saw our last episode about the smartwatch, and he's a user himself, so he was just like giving me some feedback, and he was like, it's really nice to hear you, but I always have this urge to, be part of the conversation. He was like, you should have me as a guest. And I'm just like, we will get to a point where, we can invite people and have, open it up. And now that you said that, what if we were to take this podcast and take it onto a platform like this? And that's exactly what I think people want. And, he's a good friend of mine, and he's like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure he would be happy to come in and, raise a few points or just comment on things, and it becomes an open conversation that is continually evolving, and that gives us more ideas about what we should be doing, right, as creators. So I really think it's a good idea, and it's definitely a good thing to look into. And talking about some of these rooms, like there were rooms about people having like 40 like millions of how you have these Instagram people, like follow us and you'll get 45,000 or whatever, how many ever thousand followers. And they had rooms about that even on Clubhouse. Like, they'll teach you how to get followers, how to grow a community. And that's kind of what people are trying to do, right? Like you have, up till now, there were YouTube communities, right? Like the YouTube creators, and you have your, the YouTube tech reviewers, and they had a little community. And now it's just about taking that and just like opening it up completely. Like you don't necessarily have to be a content creator to be part of the conversation or to be part of this community. You could just be an outsider wanting to say things and pitch in.
So a couple of rooms, right? You're talking about that, and very interestingly, a couple of rooms that I was in, one of them had a lot of those content creators, some of my favorite YouTubers who do these really cool growth hacks and really interesting videos, tech videos as well, and some TikTokers were all in a room with a few thousand people, believe you me, and they were trying to talk about how to really leverage features like YouTube Shorts in different parts of the world.
Right.
If you become a big deal on YouTube Shorts, how does that translate into conversion of a conversion of more followers on your YouTube?
Followers, yes.
And how different is it from TikTok? Should we recycle content? Should we not degrade our content to the level of Shorts? Very interesting questions. And people and influencer marketers and guys who really worked with the best creators were on those chats as well. And the minute small people raise their hands, or people who are just starting out or just want to be part of the conversation, when they raise their hands, a lot of those guys were nice enough to bring them into the conversation.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what's most important, right? When you're at an event,
Right.
and that's what the founder also said, which I found very interesting. Now, when you sit for this podcast, at the end of the day, I'll be honest with you, because we're doing a video version which goes on YouTube, and then the other stuff for Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the like. What I did was I was wearing a really, torn, old workout T-shirt, and I thought, okay, you got to
Right.
look a little presentable. So I combed my hair, put on my glasses, and I wore my favorite shirt.
A
Now I'm
nice
going to be wearing the
shirt,
shirt for the evening, but the truth is that I did that because there was video, right? Even
Right.
when someone video calls you, you're like, oh, if your crush calls you, be like, yeah, I'll get back. I'm
Yep,
looking all
yep.
unkempt. I'll tidy up and I'll get out here. Drink a sip of water, and there is no scope of turn video on. There is no scope of take a photo and send me one. This is purely audio, and I think that's what's fascinating, because it's also a very intimate way of getting in touch, and you feel very comfortable, Aman. It also has all the advantages. If you don't want to engage, you just want to listen like a podcast with a more live, less produced sort of element, then
Right.
who's stopping you from just switching it on, connecting it to your car, and driving and listening to it?
Oh, absolutely.
And if you
And,
really want to
there's-
engage, stop at a traffic light, stop somewhere safely, and be a part of the conversation.
Right.
I mean, just imagine, I used to do radio shows, and there was at least 150 to 100 people calling every 2 minutes, and then abusing me on hate mails saying, you didn't take our calls, you didn't take our requests. But I'm one human being, how many can I take?
How many can
Here,
you do?
there are some basic rules and etiquette. You raise your hand, the speaker or the moderators let you in, you get onto the stage, you share the dais with them, and then
Exactly.
you talk. And then after you're done talking, you have some basic manners where you say, hey, you know what? I'm done. I'll pass. Or you know what? Over to
Right.
you, Aman.
Right.
So I think that's great, because I think that sort of structured thing, which is still a little freewheeling and open, and then people follow up with you. A lot of the people out there don't have too many egos. I've seen people saying, oh, you really want to be a creator? I'm going to check. I know you're on my Facebook, Aman. I'm going to check within a week if you've done all the things that we told you to do. So I find that interesting. It's an interesting app.
Yeah.
They've been raising some good money from some top investors around the world. And I think the future is bright. But there is one concern, and I don't know what you think about it. See, now when you try recording the screen, which you would be doing as well for our YouTube video at least, it tells
Right.
you that you're not allowed to record the screen, or you're not allowed to
Yeah.
at least broadcast
the
the audio content, right?
The audio.
Now, if you did manage to get that, and if I play it out, now people are playing it out. People are playing it out. People are saying, if Aman said something and he spoke to Elon Musk and that became headlines, Bloomberg, CNBC, Verge, everyone's going to pick it up in a minute,
Everyone's-
right? So, is that private content? Is that public? Now, the answer is a very, very interesting and very cool one that the founder gives, but I have my concerns. If you're saying it's a private one,
Let's
then
get the lawyer in you for a little bit out here, right?
Absolutely. So, I mean, if I adorn my lawyer's hat, what do I see, right? I see a massive privacy issue there, because the little bit that I understand about tech and the little bit that I understand about law and a little bit about content, that's basically me. And I feel like if you put all of them together over here, there's a concern, because if this is a public room, the founders say this is a creator-first approach. So now the creator, are you going to leave it up to the discretion of the creator? But then what if the creator had something in mind and the 7 speakers out there had something else? Or the 100 listeners out there had something else in mind? And then they play it out, or they use it out of context when they've been told not to. What kind of legal action, in which part of the world? We have something in law called cause of action. If Aman abuses me from the US and I'm here in India, how does it work? If Aman hires someone to shoot me in the head from LA and I'm in Bombay, how does it work? Look, where's the cause of action? What is happening? Which laws will apply? I know some of their terms and conditions would solve that, but it is uncharted territory. This is not Facebook. This is not Instagram. This is not Twitter. This is not Spotify for podcasts. This is something, a mishmash of all of them put together in terms of the hormone release that you get in your head.
Right.
But let's not beat around the bush. There could perhaps be privacy issues if they do not clarify that immediately.
You know, there was one that I while I was looking to the app and also doing a little bit of research, I read about something about, the coronavirus vaccinations. And there was some people who created a room and they started saying very negative things about it and promoting and basically telling everyone that don't take it, it's not good, etc., etc. And it became a bit of an issue, and it is a bit of a legal issue, right? And it's also going back to your simple your freedom of speech, not necessarily like just that till when can it how do you put any form of restrictions, or how do you put any form of laws into it? Where do you hold people responsible for saying bad stuff or things that are going to get you in trouble, and things like that? So it definitely is, you're spot on there. It's a bit of a
See,
it's a bit of an issue. Yeah, go ahead.
Saman, what you're saying is interesting, and now you just made me think over this all over again, because now when we're in this geek mode, I start thinking more.
Yeah.
Now, that issue could arise with us chatting right now and bringing your friend or my friends on board for a chat as well.
Yeah.
But do remember, this is not live. Live content is a whole other ball
It's
game.
another thing.
When I do recorded shows on TV and digital, I sit on an edit and I can chop them up and do whatever I want. Even if
Exactly.
I've had issues, Aman, where I've done a live show which was live simultaneously on Facebook,
Right.
Periscope, and I think Instagram. And
Yeah.
we were just doing this. We were covering an Oktoberfest event where they recreated Munich in Mumbai, and it was a very interesting one. They'd done it at the Turf Club, so we went live, me and my co-host. And unfortunately, this was the first time that show was a viral hit. Any other episode that day, unfortunately, these scenes of revelry and people being intoxicated, it was a bad call by us, because we used to go and talk to random people, and people started using swear words. Now, neither were we happy, nor were
Right.
our editors happy, and it was irresponsible on our part. We were not smart enough. Now, what do? Is there a fail-safe on some of the live sports shows that I do, on some of the live news shows? There is a 7 or 8. If Aman comes on my show and he's not speaking too well or is being abusive, I have a fail-safe switch, which is a 7 or 8 second delay. But then you have a production control room working in the background. Who's doing that in Clubhouse?
Who's doing that here? Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
What do you do in Clubhouse? So, and I went on a room where they were rapping, and then people were using very bad language, so to speak. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Now,
I
there's
did
no
land
editing
up
that,
stumbling
and
upon
I've heard
something
it.
like that.
I could be a youngster. I could fake my age. I mean, yeah, of course, I've been nominated by so-and-so. By the way, how did I get the invite? I think I stole the invite. I just clicked on someone's random link and I just got nominated. God bless you, random person, but that's how I got in. So it's not foolproof. It's a great app. There are pros and cons. But again, I come to that point. When something is just gathering momentum and it's going to be the next big thing, that's what they're calling this, the next big social media platform. That's why the investors are coming on board. That's why the media is going crazy. That's why people and creators and tech people are talking about it. It's great. A lot of good use cases. But I'm a little concerned about if we don't nip these problems in the bud and clarify exactly what our guidelines are, if anything untoward happens, we could be looking at a few issues which could spiral into something bigger.
For a new social media platform, especially one that it's pure audio based, where it's not that you can delete your comment or delete a tweet or delete a post, right? You can't do that. This is live, so it definitely, they need to nip it in the bud. They need to control that, and I think if they do that, it could be super successful. I mean, it's literally taking. It's like being able to attend a live event with like your people who you look up to, and not just be in the audience. If you raise your hand, you could potentially be on that the stage.
So let me ask you a follow-up question about that. Now, we've discussed this at length. Before we wrap this up, I want to ask you, the pandemic's going on. It's an unfortunate situation, but we are adapting in all our industries. We're trying to do these things remotely. When things get better and the vaccinations are successful and the world recovers from this and moves on from this perhaps, and it's a new day, do you think an app like Clubhouse will have any use case at all?
I think so. I personally think so. I mean, I think that, let's just look at us, right? You and I, we have to, obviously, you're in the AM, I'm in the PM, or the other way around, right? We're sitting in LA and Mumbai. So we obviously have to communicate and coordinate our time to sort of record. But then at the same time, we also have to make sure we have a laptop. We have to make sure we have a mic. We have to make sure we have all these sort of accessories to be able to do this, just because we're doing this video version, right? But here, all you need is a phone. You could be pretty much anywhere in any situation. Even if it's 30 minutes, right? Say you're in the middle of at work in an office environment, and say it's your lunch break and you want to be part of something that has people who are sitting in another part of the world in another time zone, and be part of an event, a live event, and you can contribute to it. Why not, right? Like I for all the bad things that have happened in the pandemic, and it's really sad on a lot of fronts, but there's one thing that has happened is I think, or maybe it's just you and I, and if it's happened to a few people. Like I really think a lot of people have come closer, having not lived or not being in the same place, right? And that's just been because we've been forced to do it, right? And I think it'll continue. I really think so. And I really there's an architect who I admire a lot. He says something about human tendency, and it's on a webinar that I attended about the future of the workspace and the future of the office building, right? And he says something that human nature can go two ways. One, we revert back and go back to exactly the way things were, or you take everything that's changed in your stride and adapt it. And he says he believes that we're going to adapt. And I'd like to believe that he's right, and I'd like to think that he's right, because we see it happening. People are going back to work in new ways. The world has learned, and things have changed. And there are trends that I can continue talking about in architecture or in design that have changed. Like when we design apartments, we do now pay a lot of attention to make sure there's enough space to put a desk and a computer and have this work from home situation. We didn't care about it, I would say, even 18 months ago.
That's
so
true.
things have changed, and I think and I do think that this is something that can stay, it can last, and it can really be a big thing. Maybe I'm gonna have to, maybe I'm completely wrong, maybe I'm not, who knows?
No.
But as we've always said, that it's only exciting times ahead for not just Clubhouse, but the future of tech and the future of things we love, I guess.
Absolutely, and exciting times indeed. Also for this podcast, as we continue to tech about it. Maybe, who knows, we'll be on Clubhouse next, and then we'll invite all of you all to a room. What I'm going to do now is sign off. All of you guys who've been tuned into this podcast, I want you guys to share it, write to us, continue writing to us on Instagram. If email is too old-fashioned, send us a Clubhouse invite for a room. We're already on it.
Right.
Aayush Alavadi, Aman Shet. This is the both of us signing off. Get on Clubhouse, guys. I urge you, especially the young people networking, looking for a job. It's a far more authentic, genuine way of networking if you enter a good room. It's like going out in the middle of New York City or Bombay at night. Now, if you go to the right restaurant or bar, it's up to you. You got to choose what your safe spot is. You got to choose who
Right.
you engage with and how you engage with them. It's just that. It's another avenue for you to sort of vicariously live around the world whilst you're sitting in your room, or like me right now in this garden. Well, guys, thanks so much for tuning in to this special episode of Let's Tech About It. This is Aman and me saying adios.
Goodbye for now.